Hello, friends and beautiful people. It's hard to look out there right now and imagine a garden, imagine green, and imagine really anything that isn't cold. So it's 0 degrees outside, literally. It's hard to look out there and even think about gardening. And it's the time of year when a lot of people get the blues. The holiday bills are coming in. Those of us who like to garden are stranded inside, not able to put our hands in the dirt. And there's just this overwhelming feeling of just gloominess. I like to be outside. I like to play outside. I've always been a tomboyish kind of girl. So for me, there's always something I can find to do unless it gets this cold. When it's this cold, I'm not gonna lie, I sit close to the fire and I read and I plan and I do things. So we've also got all kinds of seed catalogs coming in, and I wanted to take a minute and just talk to you about my garden planning and my process. Everybody does things a little different. You have to do what works for you. So I will just talk about where I order seeds, why I order seeds, when I don't order seeds, and so on. So one of the things that I do is I took an Excel spreadsheet and I made all of the squares in the spreadsheet actual squares, and I drew out my raised bed garden area so that I could plan. And what I do is I keep those in a notebook, and I was going to bring one and show it to you, but it's out in the high tunnel and I'm not going out there to get it. So I draw those out and I keep them in a notebook, and I look at what I did last year, the year before, and I do that for my actual rotation. So if I had tomatoes in a raised bed planter last year, chances are that it's not going to get tomatoes this year. There are things that I can't rotate as well, like my corn and my potatoes. I'm not putting my potatoes in raised beds anymore. I've got a much higher yield out of the in-ground beds, and that could have been for multiple factors, but for now, because of space, I've only got, don't laugh, I've only got about 42 or 44 beds out there. Most of them are 4x8. There's a couple that are 4x16. The two of the 4x16s are perennial beds. They have asparagus and strawberries in them. So I can't really do a lot with those. Those are what they are, and I just plan around them. So that's the first thing I do is I go ahead and I get out those where I just draw the little lines around the squares, and it says I most of the time have handwritten in what I have there for the year, and when I go to plan for this year, I'll write in what I'm going to put where. The next thing I do is, when you're a beginner gardener, let me back up a little bit, what you should do. What seeds should you buy? Open your pantry door. What are the vegetables in your pantry and in your freezer that are your go-tos? That's where I start. Things like garbanzo beans that sometimes are readily available, sometimes they aren't. With everything going on right now in our world and the food shortages that do or do not exist depending on where you are, you want to make sure that the things that you enjoy you have. My number one reason for gardening is it brings me joy. And my number two reason is because I have been a part of the food system since 1986. And the food system is broken. And I am part of that movement to fix it. I want to know what's in my food, how it's processed, and I want to know that what I am feeding my family is healthy and there aren't as many chemicals in it, and just that the nutritional value, the flavor, all of those things increase when you're growing your own food. I'll give you an example. If you are buying, let's say, tomatoes, and you're buying them at the grocery store, and I know that's an easy mark, But if you're buying those at the grocery store, they're not going to have the same flavor as what you're growing in your garden. Part of that is because they're picked, and they're picked, tomatoes are probably somewhat of an exception. They're picked when they're ripe. Then they're sent to a distributor, and then the distributor gets the order, and it goes to the grocery store or the restaurant, and then it comes to you. So that food's already got a lot of miles on it, and for every minute that that food is out of the ground or off the vine, it is no longer getting additional nutrients, and it's actually losing nutritional value. That's the simplistic way to put it. So your food's already traveled thousands of miles. It doesn't have the same nutritional content, and it doesn't have the same flavor. So I prefer vine ripened tomatoes. Now, can I get them in the winter? No. If I wanted to heat my high tunnel, I could, but I don't want to spend the money that they're charging for propane right now to do that. So I do as much as I can where I can. So I've opened up those pantry doors, I've opened up the freezer, and I've chosen the things that are comfort for us. Whether it's the potatoes, the carrots, the beans, whatever those things are that click your buttons that you enjoy, that's what you're gonna start out with. And you're also gonna look at how much space you have. Do I have enough space to grow all the things? If not, then we're gonna start with those things that we need more of or we eat more of, and then we're gonna work our way down the list until we're full. For us, we do have the luxury of having 5 acres, so I'm able to grow a lot more and also to take into account what my family wants. We have 6 grown kids. All but one are married, and they have children. So what fruits and vegetables do I know that if I grow are going to encourage my grandkids and my kids to want to eat healthier foods because they enjoy them. There's something that they like. They love going out to Nana's garden and picking things and eating it right off the vine and experiencing what a fresh fruit or vegetable tastes like. And I will tell you, all of our grandchildren, even the 1-year-old, are absolutely in love with fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's because they are exposed to them. So the next thing that I take into consideration is I've gone through, I've seen those fruits and vegetables that we enjoy eating. I also look at my herbs. If there are herbs that I use a lot of those herbs are perennials. So it's kind of a plant one and you're done kind of deal. And things like sage and oregano, those are all things that come back for us here in our zone. We're in zone 6A every year. And we know that we're gonna use a lot of sage. I use it every time I cook chicken. Doesn't matter how we're gonna season it, I always put a little sage in there. So any of those herbs that I can grow, I do. And so I'm gonna make sure that I save space for that as well. The other thing that I take into consideration is I only use hybrid seeds. And the reason, let me back up. I do not use hybrid seeds if I can get away with it. And the reason why is because hybrid seeds will not, most of the time, you cannot save seeds from them and start seeds again. If you do, they're hybridized to a point where you might be able to get fruits or vegetables off of it the next year, but then the following year you're not going to get anything. And if you're saving seeds from a hybrid seed, you aren't going to get the yield that you're going to get from a non-hybrid seed. So I use companies like High Mowing. I use Baker Creek, not as much as I used to, and I'll talk to you about that. MI Gardener, Seed Savers Exchange is phenomenal. They are actually a group of people who saves heirloom seeds, which is what I choose to use, to keep them from going away. And I'll put on another video on Rumble a little bit about why it's so important to me to be able to save the seeds, but I think it's very important to you as well. They're trying to take that opportunity away from you. So I save as many seeds as I can, and that money that I save by doing that, I'm able to try new things. So we do have some standard things that we like to grow every year. For example, San Marzano tomatoes. I like those for canning. You get a nice meaty tomato. It's got a lot of flavor, and I actually like it better than a Roma or a paste because they are larger and you're using them for the same things. So we do always grow the San Marzanos. You know, your green peppers, we are now just 100% emphatic that we're going to use those provider beans after how many beans we got last year. And then we used to use the Kentucky Wonder, which also is known as the Old Homestead bean. So those are all things that we can save seeds for. I save seeds from pinto beans, kidney beans. We grow all of those beans ourselves. We grew the garbanzo beans the one year, and the chipmunks got all of them. And I haven't been able to source a replacement garbanzo bean yet, but I'm working on it. So how do I save seeds? These are onions, and basically I'm just going to take all of the onions out of the little flowers, and then I use these. I bake all of our bread here, and these are yeast containers. You need to keep your seeds in a cool, dark spot. I know some people store them in the freezer for long-term storage. This is my go-to. I do have some that are in packets as well, and I do keep my larger seeds, like my loofahs, my pumpkins, my beans, in mason jars with just the lids that I buy that are reusable, or I reuse a lid that maybe got dented when we were taking it off, because I don't reuse them when I can. But I do keep those in mason jars, and I keep them all in the basement, cool, dark place. It's got its own room, and basically, I've got all my seeds for the year. So things like my jalapenos and all of my pepper seeds are going to be in a container like this. The seeds that I do buy, and I'm not going to advertise for any one company, are usually seeds that I've never tried before and I want to try, or I've seen and other people have had success with them, and I want to try them for the first time, and then if I like them, I'll try to save the seeds from them. The only thing, I'm trying to think of what I don't save seeds from, and it's usually if I haven't saved seeds from something, it's a fluke. I have a great book. It's called Seed to Seed, and it tells you how to save every kind of seed there is and the best way to do it. I got some great advice from them on how to do my tomato seeds a little better than I had been doing in the past. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about is fad seeds. And that's one thing that I can tell you Baker Creek is great at. They have a great marketing department. They're constantly on Facebook, and I've fallen into that fad seed trial just like the rest of you have. I did the Atomic grape tomato seeds the one year, and those are the ones that look like green and purple, and they're real pretty, but honestly we didn't get the flavor we were looking for, and they're hard to tell when they're ripe. They because of the greenness on the tomato, you actually have to squeeze the tomato and see if it's ripe yet. The other thing was those noodle beans, the long noodle beans. Super cool looking, great fun with the grandkids because they thought they were awesome looking, but I didn't like the flavor. And they're only, I heard somebody else talk about it, they're only good fresh. I canned some and I could not eat them. So I have them in pint jars, and the hubs can have them whenever he wants them, but it just churns my stomach. They are great in stir fry, and that's because they have a little bit of that same flavor as like a bamboo shoot or something like that. It's not a true bean flavor. I've tried sauteing them in garlic. I've done just all kinds of different things, and I just really wasn't fond of them. So I would caution you on falling into the trap of fad seeds unless you have the time and the energy and the space to try those kinds of things out. Because right now we're just worried about food and making sure that we're fed. Now, I will tell you that I still fall into the trap with flower seeds. There are flower seeds that are out there that are phenomenal. It's like, oh, have you ever seen this purple sunflower? Well, when you save the seeds from them the next year, they're yellow. So it's just something to bear in mind. It's cool the first year, but I'm guilty just like everyone else on those flower seeds. So while you're stuck in the house and it's cold and you're thinking about seed saving, start with a plan and start with a budget. MI Gardener is great for those with a budget, but if we're comparing apples to apples, you need to look at seed counts. How many seeds is that purveyor telling you that you're getting in a package? I've had better luck with germination from MI Gardener, Seed Savers, and those places than I have with Baker Creek. Baker Creek, I have gotten pole beans when they were supposed to be bush beans. I've gotten one pepper and it was supposed to be a different pepper. So I just, I take it with a grain of salt. It's, nothing lost. Just, $3 for a packet of seeds. And they do have free shipping, and they do send you a free pack with every so many dollars you spend. But I really only use them for seeds I can't find anywhere else now. Their catalog is absolutely beautiful and stunning and can pull you in to buy things that you would not buy. So start with your must-haves in one column. Go down through, get your list together of all of those items, what you have space for. Make sure you have space for it. I've done it before. 2 years ago, I ordered so many seeds because there was going to be a seed shortage. I panicked and I jumped on, and as I was buying the things that I knew were gaps, then I started buying all this other stuff and I had nowhere to plant them. So just be aware that you could fall into that trap. It's just like going to an auction and you keep raising the paddle. Oh, I have to have it. And then the next thing you know, you've got it. Now where are you gonna put it? So just something to keep in mind. Make your list of gotta haves, make your list of wanna haves, and make your list of do we wanna try this? And I will tell you, my husband is great about getting seed catalogs in the mail and flipping down corners and saying, let's try this, let's try that. And I do sometimes do that. I do want to say another great place to get seeds, probably one of my favorites for certain seeds, is Seeds of Italy. My husband's Italian. I know that they're in, some of the seeds are actually from Italy, but they ship the seeds from the United States. So you're not going to have a 2, 3, 4 week wait time on your seeds. They aren't as quick as getting things on their website as the other seed companies are, but some things are worth the wait. That Italian squash that we got last year was crazy phenomenal. And we still have some that is still in storage, and you can't even, it's just like the day we picked it. So that's something else to consider. So other than that, come up with a plan, come up with a list, come up with a budget, and then have some fun going through the seed catalogs. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing.